is on 97, right? Oh no, it was not on 97. It was on 96.
It's 96. It is on 96.
Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to rename this machine to vSender 5-1. I'm just going to name it. I know we can fix that problem later, but I'm just going to put it vSender 5-1. You can all see the screen, right? So we discussed about vCenter. Basically I'm going right onto the vCenter, and then we will talk about the thing. First of all, we go to install. So you remember I was showing yesterday how to do that. So we have VMware tools installed here. Pretty much everything is there. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mount that ISO file, which is already mounted. You can see that VMware VIM setup 5.1. That ISO file is already mounted to the CD. So I'm going to the CD-ROM drive, and I'm going to run that executable. It's actually right now mounted to the CD drive. You double click on that and you will get this screen, right? Just to make sure how much space you have here. That's a point. Okay, you have only 7.5 GB there, which is okay, but I think that much space is not enough. So let me just show you something here. I know everybody knows that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new hard disk to this computer. And you also know that Windows 2008, you can actually increase the volume of a running drive. So I'm going to make this to 40 GB. I think that will be enough. So I made it 40 GB. You can extend the volume of a Windows 2008 R2 servers, or even 2008. You can extend a system drive when the server is up and running. That's a great feature. In earlier days, it was a pain to do these things on Windows 2000 and 2003. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to the disk manager, and I'm going to do a scanning. So you can see that it is showing that now. Once I scan this, rescan the disk, it will show you the additional partition. You can see that the 22 GB is there. And you can actually right-click on the drive and you can extend the volume. This is a great feature with Windows 2008. Even the system partition can be extended just like that click. It is like a big difference in Windows. So you can extend it. So now that I extended that volume, we have if you refresh it, you can see that we have 29 GB free space, which is okay. But again, when we talk about Update Manager, I will talk. It's recommended to have 120 GB because it has to download a lot of patches and all. But we're not going to do Update Manager now. So this is the VMware vCenter installation files. Yeah, go ahead.
So you are actually trying to install a vCenter on a VM that is running on a ESX server.
That is absolutely supported in VMware. There is not a problem. You can install vCenter, and VMware actually recommends to install vCenter on a VM itself because you can move the VM up and down and things like that. But there is a small problem that you will understand when I teach about cluster. But most of the companies today are installing vCenter on a VM. In my office also, except our old couple of vCenters, rest all vCenters are VMs actually. So it's absolutely
okay. Okay. Thank you.
So and it is recommended to install on vCenter now. I mean on a VM today, because why VM is capable of doing everything. A VM can be.
Yeah, but I was just thinking in terms of vMotion and all that stuff.
It can be vMotion. So we will talk about all that later. So I'm going to install it. I'm using the simple install because we don't need to do these things one by one. As I said, single sign-on and inventory service is required to be installed. If you are upgrading a vCenter 5 or if you are installing vCenter 4.1 to 5.1, then you have to do these two things individually and then upgrade vCenter server. But here, we're using the simple install. That means vCenter install vCenter. So you can see here it will install vCenter server, single sign-on, inventory service on the same host or virtual machine. So you can, if you want to do customized installation, you can do that. But we don't need to do that. We are going to install this simple install and click the install button. So as I said, this requires a database, and we're going to be using the SQL Express, which will automatically install as part of this process. We can see that now. Okay. I hope everybody is there. Right, and you there? I didn't see you, right, and actually is there. Okay. No, he's not there. Okay, there. Okay. If Annie, can we install Hyper-V on a VM? Okay, so if possible, maybe during the last class, if you can take a class and show all of us how to install a Hyper-V on a, let us try to do a 2012, okay? So that will be a great thing. So I wanted you to do a demo class or something, maybe a Sunday. I can set up a Sunday and then let us do this. Even I wanted to take a look at it. So here there is a problem. vCenter is saying it has to be part of the Active Directory domain. So basically, guys, I'm going to cancel this installation for a minute. It is because vCenter permissions, everything has to be part of Active Directory. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to join this machine to an Active Directory domain, so that way we can permission and all. So it is recommended to be part of an Active Directory domain. So I'm going to join this computer to the Active Directory. Okay, so to join a domain, just like that, so there are two things. First of all, the computer name itself is not correct. So I'm going to change that computer name to vCenter 5. I'm going to reboot, because once you change the computer name, you definitely have to reboot first. So I'm actually rebooting the computer, and once that is come up, we will join the computer to domain, and we have to reboot one more time.
So Deepu, is Active Directory standard across the industry? Is there any competing?
Not necessary. If they have, you can attach this to LDAP also. You can actually, you can work with LDAP also. That's absolutely not a problem. But here I don't have an LDAP environment, so I'm just wanted to make it. So you can definitely work with LDAP, and my VMware's appliance itself, it can work with LDAP. So that's not a problem.
Okay.
Are there any companies that use LDAP only without an Active Directory? I strongly doubt that. Yeah, probably that's correct. That's correct. So somebody's on speakerphone. Okay? So the password is welcome one, right? Yep.
That's right.
Did I put it host 62? Oh, no. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, what's happening is actually the Active Directory already has a computer called vCenter file. So I went to the Active Directory and removed that computer account, and I also just went to the DNS and removed the old vCenter file and entry, because that was the old vCenter. That's all I did. I'm not going to change it. I wanted to do this. So there is some problem there. Let me just reboot one more time. Because we deleted it, it should be refreshing problem. So domain is saying, I mean, the Active Directory is saying I already have a mission with the name. That's why it's just deleted it. So probably it takes a while to get refreshed. There is no other domain controllers I have. I only have one domain controller. There is no question about replication or anything here. It could be a refresh. So probably once we reboot, the problem will go away. If not, we'll change the name. Is Sujan there? Sujan, yeah, good question. So we'll talk about that. You know, that I will, once this is done, we'll talk about it. There is an appliance. I will show you that. You can do that also. That is a different way of, that's a VMware has an appliance that comes with vCenter. It's a different way of doing vCenter. But we're not doing that. This is probably the recommended way to do it, installing it on a Windows server. Oh, why is that?
Do you think there is another VC created, maybe another different ESX server?
I don't know.
Maybe make it as a 5.1, VC 5.1.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. That AD account I deleted, Sri. I already went and deleted, right? So that's what I'm thinking. I don't think there is any more vCenter file there. There's a vCenter, but that's a whole different thing. It's not vCenter file. Who installed this vCenter app? So I'm joining the domain now. There was no name issue. I don't know. I mean, it should have worked after we removed and rebooted. So typically, one vCenter server can support up to 3,000 ESX servers and around 15,000 plus VMs, but people don't do that. Probably, 1,000. It depends. 1,000 ESX servers is a big number. We have a different ESX servers for different regions and things like that because of some geographical limitations and some restrictions because of the more of the compliance related issues. We have multiple ESX, vCenter servers. So one vCenter server is capable of actually handling a large amount of VMs and hosts. So if you read that book, you get the right number, but I think it's around 3,000 ESX servers and around 15,000 servers and around 15,000.
Deepu, is there a restriction on how many clients can be connected at the same time to vCenter?
There is some settings we can do that, but there is now with the web client many number. I mean, I don't know again the number, but it's not like 1 or 2 or 3. You can connect, quite a lot of people can connect to vCenter at the same time. Don't know the exact number. Earlier it was 50, but now with this web client and all, you can have much more users. In my office, we have probably like 100 to 200 people connect to vCenter on a daily basis just for managing VMs, just for workstation. We have a desktop team, we have server team, we have networking team. A lot of people have access. So I don't know how many concurrently connect, but the number is again a big number. There are some settings to configure that. We will see that once vCenter is installed. Okay, so now this is part of the domain. I'm actually going to log on to this mission as administrator. Okay, so now we are good to install, okay? So we have the server back. The first part, it is actually installing the single sign-on. That also requires a database. It will automatically configure that. Yeah. No, you can install it with standalone thing. It's not a requirement that vCenter has to be part of a domain. But I just wanted to show you some permissions and all. That's why I just made it that way. So you can install vCenter. Actually, Sujan installed, right? So you can install without that. But again, as I said, there is no need to install vCenter. We're going to learn understand how it is installed, what are the components, that's what is important. If you are going to a company to work, they're definitely going to have a vCenter, and also I don't think there is a reason for you need to really practice, but if it's up to you. If you want, you can do that, but I don't know, it's up to you. If you want, you can build a VM and you can try to install vCenter just to get a feel of it. How much memory is there on this VM, Sujan? I mean, so click next, accept the license agreement, next. Here, this is for the single sign-on. We have to give it a password, admin at system domain. It's just for the single sign-on thing. I'm just giving the password as welcome one. This is for the single sign-on. We won't be using that, but that's how it is.
So Deepu, single sign-on service is provided by Active Directory?
No, it's actually single sign-on itself is a service. It's actually used for once you log in with that, then you can connect to vCenter server, you can connect to Active Directory, you can connect to the cloud, everything. It will be one single login. That is the whole purpose of single sign-on.
Okay.
So here it is actually, I can see that it is going to install the local SQL Express 2000 Express. If you already have a database, you can point it to that, but I don't have a database, so I'm going with the straightforward SQL 2008 R2 Express installation. That is part of this bundle. So when you click next, it's actually going to install that SQL Express. Okay, this is the name of the server. So basically, I just want to make sure certain things are correct. Let me just create. It should have dynamically created, but I don't know why. What is the IP address here?
I think it's 62.
Okay, that was the firewall firewall in Windows 2008. The firewall was blocking, so that's good. So this is the service account. You can use typically the system account. You can use the network account to do that if you want service account. If you want, some companies as a practice to create a service account to run every service. So this is going, single sign-on is going to run as a service. So I'm going to use the network service account. We don't need to make any changes. Otherwise, if some companies have some particular reasons why they wanted to track every activities and all, in that case you have to create an Active Directory service account, meaning an account to run that service, and then you have to provide that. But we don't need to do that, so you can just proceed with that. It is going to install this in the C program files, VMware infrastructure. That is where it is going to install it. The port number, this is again, this is for the single sign-on purpose, not for vCenter 7444. That's the port number it is going to use. And now it's going to install the vCenter. It's the single sign-on service. It is not installing. The vCenter now. It's actually setting up the single sign-on. But this process might take a little time because it has to install the SQL Express database. And once the database is installed, it is going to create a database for this particular single sign-on, and it will configure that. Okay. Once that is done, it will automatically kickstart the vCenter instance. Not the vCenter, actually, the next thing will be the inventory service and then the vCenter. So that's the flow actually, single sign-on, inventory service, and then the vCenter. And again, guys, believe me, this is the first time I'm installing 5.1. We did 2 upgrades of 5.1 in my office, but a fresh installation of 5.1 I'm doing first time. I've tried install only 5, so I don't think there is anything different. The only difference is the single sign-on piece. That's it.
So single sign-on is a new feature in 5.1, Deepu?
That's correct. Yes, it's a new feature with 5.1. Yes, it's only in 5.1. They're doing all these to get onto the cloud. So already VMware has a cloud called vCloud Director. So this is the platform, and they wanted to get people to work everything on cloud, and that's why they are adding more and more features. Even this year, 2012, if you look at it, most of the features that are there on vSphere is cloud related. And you have to understand one more thing. 90% of what you see in vCenter and what you see in ESX server was there for the past 7 years or so. Fanny, don't take me wrong. I can clearly tell you many features what you are seeing in Hyper-V is just a copy of what VMware is having. Even the live migration, the clustering, many once you come into HA, and many features are basically a typical copy of what VMware is having. But it's not a patent solution. Anybody can do that. So they are all coming of it. They look at the other guy's thing and they come up with something better. That's it. But VMware has had this vMotion, this clustering concept, DRS, distributed resource management, high availability. All these features were even from 2004 onwards was there. And another company that came with this technology was Citrix and Hyper-V, but that was late 2007, 2008 time period. Nobody had that feature. So VMware is past all that stage, and that's why VMware is still, the hottest. Now you can say that around almost 80 to 90% companies are still running VMware. And when I talk VMware, we can say that they are already in the 6th generation of this technology, whereas others are still picking up. But at a stage, there will be a stage where everybody has to catch up, and the market share will be distributed. Even I was talking to Fanny today. Even we are planning to implement Hyper-V in our environment because from a cost perspective, even though we have so much money, from a cost perspective, it can make a big difference. I'm talking about millions of dollars can be saved by going towards Microsoft, even though it may not be the high performing platform, but for dealing with VDI environment, dealing with the QA test environment, probably Hyper-V will be the best choice. But to run production class workloads, it's a different thing. Now, when VMware has another thing called vFabric. vFabric is a Java-based application platform that can run on vSphere. Now, that's a new feature actually. If anybody wants, I can just show you that. So that is something we are actually doing. I was on a meeting from all day today morning with some of the Microsoft technical people. VMware has something called vCloud Suite. I mean, you know that our vCenter is actually part of vCloud Suite now, but what I'm trying to talk about is this vFabric application directory. So in this vFabric application directory, they have a Tomcat server and a whole lot of things. So it's actually, if your company is moving towards more of Java Spring-based thing, they have a runtime environment called as vFabric TC server. It's actually a Tomcat server, which is a lightweight Tomcat server which can perform extremely good in a virtualized environment. So if you're running a vFabric Tomcat server on hypervisor, VMware hypervisor, you can see a huge performance, and it is a very light server compared to IBM's or compared to the actual Tomcat server what we use in the industry. They also have a technology called EM4J, that is called Elastic Memory for Java, which is another great concept. So VMware is now more into these kind of things rather than, I think they are kind of stable on the vSphere platform. At the platform level they are more stable now, and now they are getting onto more features like these kind of things. So vFabric Elastic Memory for Java is another memory management technique which is inside the Java virtual machine. So when you have Tomcat servers run and you have the if those who are familiar with Java application servers, you know that you configure the heap, right? Java heap and all. So there is always a processes that you run. If you are a Java developer, Santosh, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. So you run garbage collections and stuff like that to clear the memory, right? Now with this Elastic Memory for Java feature, which is actually another kind of a balloon driver that they inflate inside the JVMs, they can actually do well with memory management and things like that. So that is a great feature that is coming. This is again a separate licensing. This is all more towards the cloud area. vFabric web server is an Apache web server equivalent to an Apache web server. So one thing just want to tell you, if you have an Apache web server and you have some websites running, you can actually port that to the vFabric web server. You have any application that is running on Tomcat server, it can be straight away port onto vFabric TC server. So with the TC server, the web server, and this Elastic Memory for Java, these runtimes, you can get 10 times better performance than running on normal Tomcat servers. They also have a database, something called as vFabric SQL Fire. This is a specific type of a SQL server, a database server meant for this cloud infrastructure. So it's all now they are moving more towards the cloud. So when it clouds, they wanted applications that can perform well and respond fast in a cloud environment. You cannot design or you cannot think of an applications in future. You cannot think in a standalone physical server construct. Those days are gone, and in probably next 4 years or so, you may not even see a single application running on any servers. Everything will be cloud-based, either a private cloud or a hybrid or a public cloud, but everything is going to be cloud-based. So today you may have a server in your private cloud in your own data center. Maybe tomorrow you may want to move that to a public cloud or a off-premise private cloud, things like that. So everything needs to be in a position. Everything should be in a position to port, things like that. This Gemfire is again, there are a couple of things. This RabbitMQ is very similar to the IBM MQ server, the messaging piece of it. So that is another piece of it. And then the vFabric, there is another thing called the vFabric Application Director, or it's called as Hyperic. That's for more of the monitoring and in-depth monitoring of Java-based applications. So this whole thing is a suite, and they are selling it as part of the vFabric VMware vCloud suite. So if you buy this VMware vCloud suite, you get all these things. So there are different licensing for it, and then it's a whole thing. But vSphere is the main component. Without vSphere, you cannot do that. So once you know vSphere, the second thing I would recommend you guys to learn and understand is actually the vCloud Director, which is the VMware cloud application. Just like the EC2 Cloud or Microsoft Azure, that is actually the vCloud Director. But vCloud Director and then the vCloud Connector, that is actually the connector for other public cloud offerings. This networking feature, there is a whole lot of changes in this vCloud networking and security. They have something called vShields and stuff like that. Technologies that are coming. Just imagine today, if you have antivirus, you need to install antivirus software on every computer, correct? But with the help of the networking and security feature that is part of the cloud, you no more need to install any agents on any computers. Just imagine if you can get rid of antivirus from your computers, you can imagine how much fast your computer can run. See my computer, if I do anything, it's going to scan, it is taking a good amount of resources from every computer. So tomorrow you can see that companies and people are using these kind of features where you don't have to install antivirus software at all on your thing. It will be sitting on an edge device and it will do the monitoring for you. A Site Recovery Manager is more dedicated. It's one of the VMware's hot product, a very pricey product, which is actually used in the disaster recovery scenario. So you can replicate your entire production servers to your DR site by using array-based replication. But today, Site Recovery Manager is also been improved. You can use Site Recovery Manager. It is completely policy-based management. It can fail over and fail back. It's a very pricey product, but it is very good for disaster recovery and things like that. vCenter Operations Management Suite. This is actually VMware's performance monitoring, capacity planning, and trending tool. This can be purchased as a single product. And this product is also, they launched in 2011, and now it is almost a year old. Pretty much a solid product. But there are other competitors for this product. We are using a competitive product for this. Actually, we're using something called as vFoglight. But this is also part of the suite. If you are buying this license as a suite, you can buy that. The price of that is around $11,000. If you look here, you can see that the price of VMware. Where is that? It's not there. So the vCloud suite itself is standard, advanced, and enterprise. Once you buy enterprise, you get all these things together. Otherwise, you get only a few of the things. Anyway, I just wanted to put that there. That's all. Okay. So our SQL installation is going on here. It is almost done. So what I'm trying to tell you, or what I was trying to look here was, or trying to show you here was, vSphere is see, till 2 years back, it was only up to vSphere. There was no cloud or anything. But last 2 years, VMware, not 2 years, last 3 years or so, VMware has heavily invested in the cloud, and now cloud has become a reality. And a lot of companies are moving towards it, so they are also jumping into it. And now the focus is more towards cloud. And so they are now on top of building the cloud environment rather than the platform. The platform is very solid. There was one, now they are calling it as software oriented, or it is called as software. Forgot, software-centric data center or something. That means the whole data center can be run without any hardware dependency. That's the whole thing. All these days there was a networking feature that was holding, but now with some technology that is part of that networking thing I was showing, you can even detach that. So it's a software-centric data center. That's what the word is. Software defined. So software defined data centers. That is what the word they use to define these things now. Independent software vendors. What is ISV here? It's taking more time. Hey Shri, actually we are looking at that bridge repeaters, man. What is that called? Bridge repeater? What is that? Is it called bridge repeaters? You were mentioning to me? Branch repeaters, right? Branch repeaters. And there is also a new protocol, something a PC over IP, HNX. What is that? It is called Hardware Accelerated Environment, HX. What is the new protocol you guys use? I was doing some reading today, I forgot. It is called as, there's a protocol Citrix come up with, it's a competition for PC over IP or Microsoft Remote FX. It's called as HNX, I think. Yeah, HDX, correct. What is that? Hardware, I know the X is called environment and X. Hardware accelerated environment, right? What is that?
Right, hardware, but it's already there, isn't it?
No, it's already there, and the branch repeater also has that feature, and that is actually now we're considering that now. Probably that could help us.
Are they using any? Are they using any high graphic oriented app?
Not really, but Windows 7 itself is more. Graphic and all is more. I think that's why we are seeing. We have some remote users from Ireland and India, which we don't have a private dedicated VPN link, and that's where the problem is. So we're trying to overcome this with. There is actually Citrix. Few engineers are coming tomorrow. We have a discussion tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to look at these technologies. That's why I was actually. Spending quite some time today with
what version of Citrix is?
I told you, right? We are running.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
We are running XenApp 5 only. We are not even running 6. So that is another problem. So we may have to upgrade our Citrix platform to XenApp 6 or 6 point. I think the latest version is 6.x or something, right?
Oh, I thought you told me 6. So.
Yeah, we are not 6. That's the problem.
Okay. Then you may probably looking at a VDI solution then.
Yeah, so that is where all the confusion. So if we use VMware View, we get some of their benefits. View has not just the PC or IP. View has certain other features like storage reconciliation feature, link clones, and things like that. But we get only if we buy View.
Right.
So
Well, I think you told me View does cloning.
Yeah, View has a whole different concept. You can run 100 virtual machines from one hard disk. So there will be a master copy, and all other VMs will be using that copy to run the thing, and whatever changes you make, those will sit as delta. So if you have 100 VMs with 10 GB hard drives, you still need only 10 GB hard drive to run that 100 machines. You getting what I'm saying? If it is in a non-persistent state, that means when the user shut down, it will reset back to the base state. So when you consider the remote users, you have to consider them in different angles. So we have some heavy users, for example, developers. So for developers, we cannot use that kind of concept. If it is a call center, if it is a call center, then I can use that. So we don't have that many call center users. So there are many factors need to consider. So we are now thinking we may not need to go to View. View is good, very powerful product, but the problem is it's very costly too.
Which one is that?
View.
Oh, View. Okay, yeah. View actually works if it's in if you have a very good bandwidth.
Right.
But already you're facing Ireland and problem from India, then you would be better off with Citrix.
Yeah. Santosh, Sri is a Citrix architect, man. He has around 15 years experience. He is a Citrix guru. So if you want, maybe Santosh can do a Citrix class for you. And I can provide him a lab. There is an error. I don't know what is this. Okay. Identity source recovery. I don't know what happened. Oh man, that's a problem. Now it's going to roll back. Yeah, I used to take Windows administration, not used to, many students who come to me, they don't have much vCenter, Windows administration thing. So I have taken 2 classes. I have taken, so single sign-on, there was a problem. It is continuing to start with the other installations. So I think we are good. We got to see. See, again, as I said, guys, 5.1 I'm installing first time. So let us see how it will go. So I used to take Windows administration classes. I did 2 times. That was like a crash course for 20 hours. But I don't think I'll be doing that anymore, especially because I don't have time. So, yeah, that's it. Maybe you can talk to Sri. He may take a Citrix class. Citrix is also good. Okay, believe me, it's one of the best product in the industry for application virtualization. And now with VDI, they have a Zen Desktop. That's another big product coming out. So you can see that now it's actually installing the inventory service. And once that is done, I think it will start the vCenter installation. We'll see. See, I know you're getting so many messages, so you got to give me commission, okay?
Thanks. Well, I need to set up a lab like you.
Yeah, that you don't have to start. I will give you.
All right.
No, I was kidding, man. You got to buy some servers. Yeah, you can do that. You can buy 1 or 2 servers from eBay, and you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was actually looking the other day to see how do I
I
set
mean,
up.
a lot of students contact me for Citrix. Believe me, you can do that. Actually, it's not a big deal. If you have some time and effort, you can actually do that. Just put 1 or 2 ESX servers and just build up an environment. You can probably do that. Citrix is still hot, and I have seen many students coming to me for Citrix.
Yeah, there's a lot of demand going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, Citrix is a totally different product, Arvind. Don't compare that with VMware. Citrix as a hypervisor, it is used more in the VDI environment. There are companies, but again, as you said, it is you cannot compare that with VMware. But I think that's also good. But if you know Citrix hypervisor and you start looking for a job, the chance for you to get a job may not be that easy if you don't have other experience. If you're a real good Windows administrator and you already know Citrix application servers, application virtualization, and then Zen, then there may be things. And then there is also now so if you are familiar with SoftCity, it's now called as AppV from Microsoft, which is a very good product for again application virtualization. AppV, ThinApp from VMware. There's a whole lot of products in that area also. So there is a lot of technologies out there. So if anybody is interested in looking into desktop management and desktop administration and all, ThinApp and AppV are 2 products. AppV and ThinApp are 2 products you may want to look at.
AppV complements to Citrix.
Yeah, I mean, we used to, earlier in Merrill Lynch, we had SoftCity. At that point, it was not that even purchased by Microsoft. It was called as SoftCity, and we used to run SoftGrid clients on the Citrix server. So people connect to Citrix servers, and then SoftGrid actually, you actually do the application virtualization. The streaming will be done at the Citrix servers.
Right.
So it was going hand in hand. So I used to do a lot of engineering work on that environment, but I'm talking about 8 years back.
Yeah.
So
I think you worked in a very great companies that you had all that facilities seen it.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Merrill Lynch was a big playground for me, and that too I was in the engineering area. I never worked. Even today, I don't work. I never worked on production environments. So always my career was with engineering. So I always interact with a lot of application vendors and doing R&D, and that is what I definitely, that was a big blessing for me.
Yeah.
That's why I say it was a lucky thing that that's why I got into VMware in 2003.
Right.
Yeah. Citrix also.
Not many people get into that in engineering side. So I would say not many Desi people are in engineering.
Yep. So here is the thing, guys. So this is the license key. As you know, we don't need license for vCenter for now. If we need license for vCenter, it will give you 60-day evaluation. And right now is when we are seeing again, Virtual Center requires a database. So it is not going to install, it's going to use things. So it is clearly saying for small deployments up to 5 hosts and 50 virtual machines. They are saying install SQL Express. So 5 is not correct. You can put SQL Express probably up to 10, 15 hosts. The reason with SQL Express is there is a limitation of 4 GB in size for the database. If your database size is more than 4 GB, then you cannot use 2008 Express Edition. That's the biggest problem. You can put any number, but as you start collecting more and more data, this database gets filled and you will be in trouble. So if you are planning to do that for a pretty decent company and your future growth is, you may be starting with 1 or 2 ESX servers, but as the time grows, you're going to add more and more and more servers. At that point, you will have trouble. So I strongly recommend to start using a SQL Server or an Oracle database for your actual deployments. Okay. Again, it is going to run the system account. It is going to run the service, vCenter service. We will be looking at all that. It's going to run a system account. Don't need to do anything here. And these are the ports that are used by the vCenter. Some of the important ports, the HTTPS port 443, HTTP port 80. And this port number is one of the most important port number, and it will be asked for interview for 100% sure. What is the heartbeat port that vCenter uses? So vCenter uses port number 902 to talk to the ESX servers. When you add ESX servers to a vCenter and you start managing vCenter, which uses, I send you a connection port. That's an old picture, but still you can look into that and you can see that there are many ports and things like that that are come into picture when we deal with a huge environment. So all these ports are very important, and 902 is the most important port. Even in sleep, if somebody asks you and say, okay, hey, vCenter talks to ESX server using what port, it is 902. There is a port number 903. Actually, the ESX servers talk back to vCenter using 903. It's actually the messages that send from vCenter to ESX servers are 902, and the reply come back in port 903. It's like 21 and 22 for FTP, something like that. So this port number 902 is very, very important. Okay, and the other ports are all, you can see the LDAP port and things like that, SSL port. These are not very important, but 902 is the most important port you may want to remember. Okay.
So Deepu, 902 is the port on the vCenter, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, vCenter talks to ESX servers using port number 902. Yes. No, it uses that port for its communication, but these are the other things for web services and stuff like that, for some other web clients and stuff like that. But for the normal operation, it uses 902. UDP is actually the protocol, the TCP, in UDP protocol, transmission control protocol and user datagram protocol. This is a connectionless. So if you know TCP is a connection oriented protocol. When you say connection oriented protocol means every time when you send a packet, it checks for error checking, and if a packet is missing, it will resend and things like that. It's a connection oriented protocol. When you talk about UDP, it is connectionless. That means UDPs are not typically used in a in a broadcast. If you are doing some video streaming and all, probably you could use UDP protocol. So UDP stands for user datagram protocol. Okay, and then click next. So this is the thing. So these are some general memory configurations. If you are having a small, you can see that less than 100 hosts. So here it is saying less than 100 hosts and 1,000 virtual machines. You can use. So this is the number. Okay, guys. This was the number. What I said was not correct. It is vCenter can be more than 400 hosts. I think the number is high, but if you have more than 400, 500 hosts, you should probably start thinking about another virtual center. But if it is small environment, less than 100 hosts, you can configure with 1 GB memory. This is the internal configuration, but we are going to do small host, so I'm going to select that small. But if you have a large environment you're planning to do, probably you may want to select that. So that this doesn't mean that it's going to increase. It is actually going to optimize your server's memory to work on that level. So we don't need to do anything here. I'm going to go with the small. And then just install it. So that is it. So it's going to install the vCenter. Now let us see what happens, how much time it will take. It is to create the database, and then it will populate the database with all required tables and all those things, and then it will install certain services. We will look into those services. We have to install also the web client. So the two things we need to do today. Which all the port number of the PDF are important to remember. Aravinda, that port number thing is, I mean, I just sent it as a thing. I got it from somewhere, so I thought that would be useful for you guys, so that's why I sent it. That picture is so big. There's a lot of it's a version 3. It was that port. The ports are changed. So this is the thing. I sent this document to everybody actually, and I sent you the link. So if you look at this picture, you can see that it is very difficult to see this. So if you look here, you can see that the different port, the SSH port, the SMB, these are all more for ESX servers. But you can see that, the ISKC port number 3269, the NFS server port, the NTP server port, all these things are actually, so these are the different connections it makes. And this is an old picture, but it will be still useful. You don't have to look at all these things, but I just want to send it to make you understand, how are these different connections. There are browser-based connections from here. There are vSphere thick clients are coming. Active Directory integration is there. The FlexLM license server was the old licensing. It's no more in use. The VCB proxy, it was the old concept, no more in use. The LDAP server connection, see that you have LDAP and Active Directory, both are actually possible. DNS servers are there. So ESX server actually uses a lot of connections for different things. And you can see that some of them have ESXi only and ESX only, you can see that, and some of them are, see the 3x. You can see that this picture that clearly says FlexLM was only available from ESX 3.5. ESX 4 onwards, that FlexLM licensing has been taken out, and the licensing is now part of vCenter. So there is a lot of things, and that is an ESX servers connection. And on the right hand side, you can see the vCenter servers connection port. So if you're really interested, you have to make it, maybe probably big enough to see. You can see these ports and all much more maybe clearly. So I'm not going to talk about that, but that is there. If you can make it into a print to a big thing and you can put it, it will be useful. We got to wait for this to complete. It takes probably some time. The vCenter is a pretty big piece of installation. It will take some time. So meantime, why don't we have to wait? So meantime, let us do one thing. Let us go to VMware site and download the appliance. I just want to show you that VMware vCenter appliance. That's another way of installing vCenter server. Let me see, I can show you that.
Are you going to Barcelona this time?
No, I went to San Francisco, so I'm not going to Barcelona. I don't think my company will do that. I would love to.
Yeah, I think next time we should like target the other direction, almost pretty much the same distance, right?
Yeah, it could be. The distance wise it's same, yeah, but I don't know.
Yes, it's okay. You don't have any visa problem.
No. So here is the thing, VMware vCenter Server Appliance. So it's an OVA file. We'll talk about OVA file and all. It's called as Open Virtualization Architecture, or OVF file is called as Open Virtualization Format. It is a standard format agreed by all virtualization companies. So you can create OVA file and OVF files, and you can actually deploy from those files. It is just a VM. So I will talk about that. We will create something, but let us for now download this thing. So it's actually VMware vCenter Appliance OVF file. So I'm going to download this OVF file, vCenter Appliance OVF file for the vCenter Server Appliance. Use the VMware vSphere client to import this OVF, and so we can do that. And I'm going to actually download that file. Okay, it is asking me to enter the password. Okay, I will download it later, man. I don't want to do it now, but I will download it later. The reason being, I have to enter my official ID to do that and things like that, which I don't want to do in this class. I should have a copy. Let me see. I should have a vCenter Appliance. See here, I have it. So these are the OVF files, guys. So we can do that. I will show you here. These are the OVF files. I have downloaded that files. You can see that it comes with two files, a 40 MB file and this a 4 GB file. This is actually a VMDK file. I will show you how to install with this. So this is the vCenter. It's not 5.1, it is 5.0, but that's absolutely same. You know, there is nothing much difference. So we will look into that. Okay, I have it already on this store. It's already downloaded here. So this is the vCenter file appliance. So this you can when you download, this is what you get, and then by using this you can create a VM to do that. So I can show you right here. When the, let me see the installation. I don't want to know. Are you guys okay if I talk two things? Are you guys okay? Because I know some people are focusing and Deepu is doing installation and he's talking about other things. Anybody has any problem? Otherwise, I can show you that appliance, how to install the appliance now. Anybody has any objection? Because this is taking time and I don't want to wait. Okay. So let this installation happen. There is nothing rocket science happening. We don't need to do anything. It is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this 97 host. And I have almost 37 GB free space here. I'm going to refresh it to see and install it on the local store. I have 96 GB free space there. Let me see, I can get another host. 902. Let me see, I have storage here. I have a more free space here. So what you have to do is, if you want to install vCenter appliance, this is what you need to do. You click on the file, deploy an OVF template. You can see that here. You click on that and browse to that folder where you have downloaded your OVF file and the other two files. All you need to do is that it will come up automatically with vCenter file. I'll show you now. So it is actually pointed to that OVF file. You can see that vCenter 5 appliance. This is that OVF file. OVF or OVA. This is the Open Virtualization Format or Open Virtualization Architecture. These are the standard. This is an Open Virtualization Standard. That means if you have an OVF file, it can be used in any environment. Whether it is Hyper-V or whether it is VMware or whether it is Xen or KVM, it should be used. So this is an agreement between all the virtualization companies so that you can port your applications or your VMs between different hypervisors. That is the whole purpose behind it. Okay? So I'm clicking on that and you click next. It will automatically identify that it is VMware vCenter Server Appliance. The version is 5.0, VMware Incorporation. The download, the total size is 9 GB. The size on the disk is 5.6 GB thin provisioned. And then there is thick provision. I know I didn't talk about thin provision and thick provision, the difference. We will talk about it. That requires certain time to make you understand. But if I use the thick provision, it is going to create a hard disk that is 82 GB in size. If I use the thin provision method, it will only take 5.6 GB. But as your vCenter is growing, it will take more and more space. But according to VMware, the recommended space is 82 GB thick provision. So if you have less space, you can go with the thin provision. If you have enough space, I would suggest going with thick provision. So this is the thing. So this is what it is going to install. It is basically that's it. You don't need to do anything. Click next. It is going to create a VM called as VMware vCenter Server Appliance. I'm going to leave that name. If you want, you can change the name. Click next. And it is going to be installed on that local storage. This is the thing here. It is saying thick provision or thin provision. I'm going to select the thin provision format. Yeah. Okay, that's what I said. When I talk about it, we will explain that clearly. Lazy zeroed means it will not write zero. So when you format a hard disk or when you do something, an eager zeroed means it will actually write some binary number zeros. That's what I say. It writes zeros across the drive so that it will check every portion of your hard disk and make sure it is working and it will be formatted in that way. If it is lazy zeroed means it will be accommodating all the space, but it will not write any zeros to it. That's it. Thin provisioning is the whole other different story. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Deepu, one more question. So you have this OVF file. So when you say it's a standard across the industry, what can you do with this file? Like install it on any server? I mean, I'm not understanding.
Any hypervisor.
Okay.
So this is the thing. These are all the deployments. Power on after deployment. Yeah, it is going to power on. It is going to come up. Let us say. So it's going to deploy a VM or it is going to create a VM. You don't need to do anything, and then you have to do certain configurations. After that, we will see that. But it is going to be a Linux-based appliance. It's a Linux-based VM. So we will see how it is. So like that, if you go to VMware Marketplace, you can download CentOS, Fedora, Ubuntu, many other firewalls, many other application things, many things. Just like going to Apple Store and downloading application or Droid applications, VMware has their own virtual appliance marketplace. You can download a lot of virtual appliances. So this is just another virtual appliance. You can convert a VM into an appliance also, an OVS format. So if I want to send a VM vCenter file to you, instead of sending this whole VM with the VMDK file and all, I can convert that into an OVF format and I can send you that. You getting what I'm saying? So that's the thing. It's a packaging and sending option. So we are done with it. It is going to deploy. You can see that it is deploying that vCenter appliance. Meantime, let us take a look.
So Deepu, what you said is you can take an existing vCenter and export it in OVF format, and somebody should be able to deploy that on any hypervisor?
I mean, don't think it that way. Let us say I have a VMware server, or let us say I made my own application. Okay, I made one application that can play chess. It is installed in a Linux operating system. So I create that, and then I can compress that and make it into an OVF format, and then I can send it to you, and then you can deploy it on to your hypervisors. I mean, your hypervisor, your VMware hypervisor. I think it is it can be deployed. I think it can be deployed on Hyper-V also and Xen also. That is what that open virtualization format means. But I think you may have to make some small changes because the disk files are a little different. But OVF format, I think I think now that Sri is saying, don't think, I'm thinking back. I think it may be working, or it may work only on the VMware environment. We can find out that. I think it is formatted for that. So basically, I can package my VM into a small package like a OVF file and send it to you, and you can deploy that into your VMware environment for sure. But whether it can be deployed in other hypervisors, let us take a look. My whole computer is choking now. A lot of stuff is going on. Yeah, let me take a look. I don't know. I think that is correct because I have seen that companies make OVF files for Microsoft and for VMware. So that could be correct. So this is what it is. See, this is the thing I was saying. The OVF standard is not tied to any particular hypervisor or processor architecture. That is the whole purpose of it. But you may have to do some tweaking possibly. But that is what my understanding. It is not for any, but that has been an agreement between all the hypervisor companies. The OVF standard is not tied to any particular hypervisor. Okay? So the more details are here. So here it is, VirtualBox. They have OVF support since ESX 3.5. I don't see any Microsoft. So I think these are the only companies that supports it probably. You can see that VMware is in 2007 onwards is there. But I don't see any. And I think, see, there is also VHT and VMDK. So this is the difference. Probably VHT is actually the Windows file. If you are creating in Hyper-V, it's VHT. Probably you have to create a OVF file with virtual. The VHT, this is a file format represent the virtual hard disk drive. It may contain whatever VHT, such as disk partition. Okay, so it's a VMware's Microsoft way is actually the VHT concept. Okay. Anyway, well, OVF themes that open virtualization standard guys. So I don't know much detail. So Santosh, you got something tip you can read about that.
Okay, thanks, Deepu.
But I know we can create OVF files within VMware, and then I can send it to you. If you have a VMware hypervisor, you can definitely deploy it. But whether you can deploy it on a Zen or a Hyper-V, I don't know. Okay, I think it has to be a little different. Then only you can do that. So let us go to our vCenter server and see what's happening here. Okay, it is still installing, and here our appliance is getting deployed. Okay, two things are happening at the same time now. So what is SriSend? Let me see this.
So basically it accepts it, but the virtual disk need to be converted VMDK to VHD. So that part of the stuff you need to work tweaking.
So that is correct. So the OVF file is same, but then the disk files you need to convert. So because Citrix cannot understand VMDK files. Citrix has their own file format. So that's the thing. So we have to convert that disks into VMware's format, and then Citrix format, and then you can do that. But the OVF file is still going to be same. That can be read by any hypervisor. But the file needs to be.
The second link I sent you, it explains the OVF.
What is that?
Check the second link I put it.
Is it a true statement to say that Citrix is a completely different? Is it a true statement to say that it's more or less the same product?
Okay, so that's the thing. So you got to convert your disk file to the hypervisor's understandable format, but the OVF file can be same. Okay, so guys, here is our vCenter installation is completed. So I'm going to click finish. Okay, everything completed successfully, it says. So we'll go here. I think that is it. It is not asking for any reboot or anything, so I'm not going to reboot. So let us go and take a look at our vCenter now. So first, before going to vCenter, I wanted to go to the services and take a look at all the services that are installed as part of vCenter installation. So here you can see a lot of installations. This is a Windows server, and now you can see there are a lot of services that are installed. VMware Virtual Center Server. This is the service we are talking about. This is the VMware vCenter Server service, and that is started and running. It also has this dependency to this VMware Virtual Center Management Web Service. These are the two major services that are part of the VMware. But it also installs some orchestration for automation and all. Inventory service is there. That is also started. But these things are only used in an automation world, which I don't think we will be covering here. But that is also installed as part of vCenter. The profile-driven storage, we'll be using this feature, so we will talk about that later. And VCMCDS, I don't know, remember what it is, but that is also part of the VMware. But these are not required. These services can all be stopped, and VMware vCenter will still work. But for vCenter to run these two services, VMware Virtual Center Server Service and Virtual Center Management Web Service, these two services are required in order to run VMware vCenter. You can also see that the vCenter single sign-on service is also running there. So these are the things that got installed, and the services are now starting. So now that we have a vCenter, we still haven't installed the vSphere client. In this machine, if you want to do, you have to install. If you want to connect to vCenter server, what do you need? You need vSphere client again. So you can connect to vCenter using vSphere client. I didn't install vSphere client on this machine. If you want, we can install vSphere client on this machine also. Just going to install vSphere client also. But we don't need to. We can actually use the vSphere client from our thing. So I have the vSphere client here. So if you want, you can install vSphere client. It's a simple installation. The same thing that we do. So let that extract here. I'm not going to wait for that to happen. Let us go to our vSphere client here and connect to our vCenter. So start your vSphere client. Okay, now here you can give vcent 5. That's a name, and give administrator. And the password. Don't worry about it. I will create IDs for you. I don't want to give that password. That's why. So we are connecting to the vCenter for the first time. Too many things running. We close all these things. Yes. Mm-hmm. If the storage goes down, all the VMs will go down, no question about it, and you have to bring back the storage if you want those VMs back. So no, otherwise you should have backups of your VMs. But storage, when you talk about SAN storage or an external storage, the chance for that going down is like a disaster to the company. It's like, a 9/11 kind of thing happening in World Trade Center where you're losing everything. So as I was telling earlier, storage will never go down. I mean, that's what you should believe. And I have never seen any case where entire storage went down. They have taken enough steps to protect the storage. There are many redundant disks and, multiple things. But yeah, if a storage goes down, then that is a complete disaster. Either you should bring up the storage back online or live with it. That is correct. Absolutely right. Yes. So this is all hanging, man. That is because this deployment is going on. We have too many stuffs happening. You can see that deploying OVF is happening, but trying to connect like this, my whole system is hanging now. Now let's give it some time. It is going crazy now, I think, with applications. Well, let it come up. I think it is hanging, so that's fine. Meantime, let us connect to It is loading. It is still connecting here. So let it come up. It will come up. First time it takes normally a little time. It has to load all the plugins and stuff like that. So, but once it comes up, it will be fast. Okay. Okay, so it is allowing me to log in with the local administrator. So Arvind, your question, you can log in with your administrator and welcome one. That is what I did. So this is the vSender 5, guys. So we have that thing just come up. Let it load. So this is the vSender. It has 60 days of evaluation, and this is what it looks like. So this is the vSender application. So we are not going to talk anything about it today, but tomorrow we will do how to do it. So today, don't worry about it. So don't try to make anything on this vSender for now. We will go through it. So the first thing once you do, this is called as a home page, or this is called as the starting point of a vSender. It normally comes to the host and clusters tab. That it is, but if you start vSender, you have to start from the home. When you go to the home page of a vSender, you're going to see all these things. You can see the inventory tab, and you can see the administration tab, and then some management. As you add more and more, you can add many plugins and things like that for VCS, vSender Operations Manager, for Veeam Backup and other things, Update Manager. You see additional application, one more tab will come. When we learn about Update Manager, you see that it will come up with another tab for the additional plugins. So if you have plugins, you can see that there is already some plugins out there. Storage Manager will talk about all these things at a later point. So this is an inventory, so you can see a very powerful search thing. Host and clusters is the actual view. Here you can create host and clusters. So what I'm going to do now on a quick note is this is what we need to do today. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this environment in such a way that we have a company called ABC. And let us assume that the company ABC is having 3 offices, one in Chicago, one in Dallas, and let's say one in New York. So let us create 3 offices. VLAN, I will talk, man. So it's not the VLAN ID. It's not VLAN. We will talk about that definitely, Shri. Let me know tomorrow. We will talk about that or next class. That is very important. And remind me. I know I'm forgetting that you have to know what is VLAN tagging and VLAN IDs because it's very important when you work on Blade servers. Without knowing VLAN, it will be you will be like shooting in the dark. So I will definitely spend some time to explain it. It needs some time to explain. So just guys, everybody, not only Sri, just remind me. I will talk about that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is here, in a vCenter, you basically the root administration. The root administration point for a vCenter is actually called as a data center. This is a virtual data center. So you can create a data center under the thing. This is called as the root of a vCenter. In the root, you can create a data center. But this is not the right way to do it. So I'm just going to remove this data center. typically we can use folders to organize things. So I'm going to create a folder called NYC, and I'm going to create a folder for each of my data centers. I'm going to say, Dallas, and I'm going to create one. We're just creating 3, and let us consider San Francisco. So there are 3 data centers in my office. I'm just building up a new vCenter. This is my future plan. My company is going to have virtual centers, VMware ESX servers in all these data centers. Which I want. Why I am talking like this is because during my last class I will try to walk you through some real life scenarios to explain so that you guys can perform your interviews and all. That is the reason I'm doing it. So this is how I'm doing, but right now let us assume that all our servers, everything is in New York. So once you create this is just a mechanism or a way or a best practice to organize things in a nice way. So we created this folder structure. Now once you come to the folder structure, inside the folder, you can create child folders if you want, but I don't think we need that now. So I'm creating a data center inside that. So inside the data center, I'm going to call it as NYC underscore data center. So this is my New York data center. Now if you click on the data center, you can see that a host computer that uses virtualization software, not our data center. In the data center actually is what do you call it? Data center is the root management thing. If you want to add an ESX server to virtual center, you don't have that option here. You see that? You cannot add an ESX server into this. But when you have a data center and right click on that, you can see the options of new cluster, add host, and things like that. So what we are going to do today is I'm going to add ESX servers to the vCenter. I'm going to click on the add button and it will come up with this screen. You give the name of our ESX server. Let us try to add our servers 10.10.10. What was the first server? It was 92, right? Right? Or
mine is 91. Sir, 96 that I created.
No, I know, but we had other VMs. 97.
91.
I think it was 92, right? So I'm going to
91.
Okay, 91. Okay. Okay, 91 root, and then you have to give the password. So once you do that and you click next, it will look, and now it is seeing that that host is there. This is the license certificate, the default certificate for every host, and it will come there, and it is now seeing that this is the host. It is saying it's a DL385 G1 server running ESXi version 5.1. It has 2 VMs, and it is coming and it is asking. So here is where the licensing thing will come into picture. We will talk about that later. If your ESX vCenter was already configured with license, it would have taken a license from here. Right now, you don't need to worry about it. Click next. This is called the lockdown mode. When you manage your ESXi server using vCenter server, you have a choice whether you want to lock the DC UI, the direct console. See, when enable lockdown mode prevents remote users from logging directly into this host. The host will only be accessible to the router. So you cannot do SSH. That is another thing I need to talk about it. I didn't talk about that. That will normally talk in the last phase of the class. Your vCenter, so you know the direct console user interface for your ESXi server. But the ESXi server also has a shell where you can connect to the, you can actually do an SSH session to an ESXi server, and you can remotely manage it using Power CLI and things like that. But if you do this enable lockdown, then nobody can connect to that server. It is a security feature if you want. I'm not going to do that. You can click next and finish. That's it. You can see that now that host is getting added to the thing. If you look down, you can see that it is adding a standalone host. So it is adding the first ESX server there. So basically what it is doing right now is the vCenter server actually is installing an agent called vCenter agent or VPXA agent service on that ESX server. And that agent is the one that talks to it. It talk to the ESX server using port number 902. So it is currently in the process of adding that. It takes a few minutes. It is installing that agent service on that server so that it can monitor it. That's why I was telling you then ESX server can be only managed by one vCenter. So if you install a vCenter or if you bring up our vCenter appliance, it is not going to allow. It will tell you, okay, you can only manage by using one server. So this is your ESX server. The VMs are running. You disconnect from here or do nothing will happen to the ESX server. A lot of people feel that, okay, if you disconnect from here, your ESX server will go down. No. So even if your vCenter is down, nothing will happen to your ESX server. But if you shut down or reboot from here, it is a different story. Now, I wanted to just show you something here itself. Before we don't do any research or anything here. I wanted to show you certain things. So please be careful on this. Don't try to do anything. I have an ESX server here. Okay. Now our deployment is done. Our VMware vCenter appliance is also ready. We will look into that later. But that appliance is ready and installed. So let me just show you that, how the appliance, you may be all curious to see how that appliance is, right? Let us go and look. It is already been powered on. I'm switching back and forth here, okay, guys. I hope you guys are getting what I'm trying to teach you here. So this is the appliance and this is it, how it will look like. This is a vCenter appliance. vCenter appliance built. To manage your appliance, please browse. So if you want that, actually that is done. So if you want to browse your appliance, you have to go to HTTPS 10.10.106. It got a DHCP IP and it is thing. You can actually definitely configure network. You can go through here and configure it with static IP address and all. I'm not going to do that, but this is what an appliance is. And you have to do certain, this is not going to work just like that. You have to go through this IP address and then you can manage it. You have to configure a Postgres database and all those. It has a proprietary database and all. I will talk about this tomorrow. We're not going to do it. So don't do anything on this box. Don't do any research. So let us leave it here for now. We'll talk about this later. What I wanted to show you here is certain things here. If you right click on this ESX server, you can see that you have these many options, correct? But when the same host or a similar host, when it is inside the vCenter and you right click, you can see that you have much more options now. Something like host profiles, risk, data store, maintenance mode, disconnect, AppV, and new lot of things. For example, look at this another option. If you are on this VM and right click on the VM, you have these many options only. Now you look at the same VM here, you have much more options. You have like migrate. This is what the vMotion and other DRS thing. If you click on it, you can see that different options. Change host, change data store. This is actually storage vMotion. This is vMotion. Whole lot of things we can do that. If you look here and right click again, you can see that there is templates. You can create templates. You can clone VMs. You can do fault tolerance, storage profiles. A whole lot of new features will come in when you have the vCenter. So that's the difference between a vCenter and a simple ESX server. It's the same server, the same hypervisor. Once you add it to vCenter, you're going to see much more features. That is why VMware Hypervisor is a free version. You can download it as free. You don't need to pay any license. They have something called as a hypervisor. ESX a high hypervisor. You can download and use it free, but you will get only these features. You will not get all these migration and other features. You can move ESX servers from data center to another and all. I will talk about all those things later. There are many things you need to consider. Definitely it is possible. And today with the new version, you can even do vMotions between data centers. So that's possible. So I added the first server. I'm going to add one more server to just show you. So let us go and add the second host 10.10.10.95 root and password. So now you don't need to do anything. You can manage all your ESX servers right from this one screen. So you can see all of them in one screen. That's the beauty of vCenter. You can manage everything through one thing. So if you want, you can go ahead and create your new data centers in San Francisco also. And you can add VMs, ESX servers under that also, but I'm just going to focus on that. Let us focus everything on here. So now you can see all the CentOS, this VM. So now you have both the ESX servers here. If you click on here or if you click on the root and you go to the virtual machines, you can see all the VMs here. and there are all the ESX servers here, and you're going to see much more things. So now today there is nothing much information here. There is actually a map view is here. You can see how this vCenter will map all these things. There's a lot of things. We will cover all these things. I'm just showing something. Maybe you guys can poke around here, but don't make any changes to this. So this is how it is. I'm leaving the other servers for you guys. You can add them, but I strongly recommend to add them to the same data center. Don't add them to anything. Now, if you want, you can actually, if somebody wants to do it, you can actually remove it from the thing. So once you remove it, you can actually remove a ESX server from the vCenter. Nothing will happen to the VM. It will stay like this, and it is gone. Do you think anything happened to that vCenter and the VMs? Nothing happened. Sorry, anything happened to the ESX server? Nothing happened actually. You just removed it from the thing. So you can add and put it back if you want. If you want to try something. So here you go. It's coming up. So it will be thing. So this is what it is. Okay. So that's it, and we will talk about all these things, how to manage this, how to start working. There's a lot of things to cover. And this is just like the beginning of how these things are. So now we go to the host thing. Host and clusters is basically will give you the host and clusters. You can create clusters here. We will talk about creating clusters when we talk about clusters. The HA feature, the DRS feature. As I click on this, you can see that there are more features coming up. That all things we will talk about probably in a later time, not now. There is so that is the view. VMs and templates is another view. In this view, actually, you can only see templates and VMs. You will not be able to see any ESX server. This is what normally the desktop guys and the end users get. If you have VMware permission and you have permission to access certain VMs and all, this is what you will be seeing. You will never see any ESX servers. If you are an administrator, then only you will be able to see all these hosts and clusters. Otherwise, not be able to see those things. Data stores and clusters. This is very important. You can see that here you can see all the data stores and their clusters and things like that. You can create data store clusters and things like these are all new features and things like that. We will look into it. What is data store cluster? How to create different profiles and things like that to manage different clusters. That is why I said, see now here it says data store one. By looking here, do you know is it from what the data store? Is it from the 10.10.91 or is it from 10.10.95 or what? But here now I can clearly say that this is from a local data store from 95. This is not, because it was not renamed properly. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So this is why I was telling earlier that you should rename these data stores. Put it so I know now we know it is actually local underscore storage underscore 91 underscore 01. Correct? So that is why I was telling you, you have to rename them and all the data stores. Now we have all the NFS and things like that come up. You're going to see a lot of data stores here. That point we will talk about other data store and other permissions. There are a lot of things to cover about data stores and its permissions, and these are all different tabs and permissions. You can do a lot of things here. We will talk about all these things later. Then the networking tab. This is where you see the networking features. You can see all the networks in your bank. There is only one VM network. If you look carefully, you can see that there is both these servers only have one network each. The virtual machine network. If you go to the configuration, I can surely show you that it only has one virtual machine network. See here. If you go to this 95, you can still see that it will only has one virtual machine network, and that is why you are seeing only one network here. But now if you right click here, you can see about the new vSphere distributed switch. This is the distributed switch. This is how we create. There's a lot of things. There are different versions of distributed switch. You don't need to learn all these things. These are all version different. vSphere distributed switch was there from 2006 onwards, 2007 onwards with the vSphere 4. Then 4.1, then 5 and 5.1. Each time they added small features to it to to make it work with the cloud. And now with the latest version, it is a completely software-defined data center. They were able to take the hook from the real physical hardware. So networking is now definitely detached from the underlying hardware. I doubt whether Zen and Hyper-V has that feature yet. You know, there is still you cannot virtualize or you cannot detach the whole switches. But VMware uses a technique called as I forgot that. But what they do is they are able to encapsulate the layer 2 traffic into the layer 3 and then send it. So layer 2 is where the physical connections, you know, the MAC, the data link layer and the MAC address and all lies in the layer 2. So they are able to take those layer 2 information and put it inside a layer 3 as a capsule, and they are able to transmit. And that's a new feature they came up with. This thing, so you don't need to learn, that is all internals. But this is how you create distributed switches. It will be something like this. We will learn about that later. So that is what basically the inventory part. The roles thing, you know, I talked about roles. I showed you what a role is, but when you look at the vCenter, you can see that there are different roles. So we can create our own custom roles. If you want, you can do the same thing. You can create different custom roles here. We will talk about that. I think I spent already time on this role, so you guys are familiar with it. Sessions will show you how many sessions are here, how many people are working on it right now. So if you have 20 people connected to here, you can see all of them here. You can send them some messages and things like that. It's just a feature here. This is the licensing tab, and there is a lot of things here. We will talk about licensing, how different license. This is the license manager, manage vSphere license. You do all of them through here. We will talk about that later. These are logs, the vCenter server settings. You know, these are some of the vCenter server settings. We will go through that, the different statistics, mail, SNMP, SNTP configuration. And here is where that database connections also, how many concurrent connections you can have to a database and things like that you can configure here. This is something for the solution. I'm not much familiar with it, so I won't be talking. I don't know much. What is this? This is a new thing. It's for some external cloud providers or something. Storage providers, we will learn about it. We will go through that. Storage profiles, that's another big thing we got to look at. When you want to build many VMware ESX servers, how do you replicate the settings? How do you replicate the settings from one vCenter or one ESX server to 100 ESX servers? Using profiles you can do. Using host profiles, not like this, host profiles. This is for storage. So that's how it is, guys. So there is a lot of things to cover. Probably I will be able to cover all these things tomorrow. And then we're going to start about the cloning and clustering and all other features next week. So this is what an overall idea or overall thing about a vCenter. Any questions, anybody? We will talk about all these things later, but this is how it is. In real time, how do you name the data stores? What do you mean by that?
Basically, like, you know, when we have multiple data centers and you have the data stores, the different data stores, and in order to understand the naming convention in the real environment.
How do you name your servers in your environment?
So is it going to be similarly?
So there will be similar format you have to define. Okay. That is something an engineer or an architect has to define. How do you want to name your data store? So we have an 8-letter character set for our data store naming and server names. For example, AXKN MMCP01. That means AXKN means the 4-letter code for a location code. The next character is for whether it is protection, UAT or something, then the next is for the application or infrastructure or things like that, and then a 3-letter number for putting the server. So same way you can define some naming standards. So definitely naming standard is very important. You cannot just name servers like, you know, Henry and Beck and all, you know. So there has to be properly defined naming standards, and that is something you have to come up with. So when you have different locations and all, keep everything in mind. So as I said, we have a 8-letter coding for naming servers. For data centers, we have a little different format, which I don't want to disclose here, but we have a different format. But again, it has a name, number, location, everything will be environment. All these things you need to convert need to be considered. And also, we use 3 letters for naming server. For example, server 1 will be Arvind, can you server
yes,
1. Server 1 will be you should not put it as server host 1, host 2. Don't do like that. If you do like that, what happens is when you come to host 11, you can see that when you list the servers, you can see that host 1 and then it will show host 11 because the numbering thing. So normally we use 3 letters for our servers. So it will be 001, 002, 003 like that, so that if I do a query or something to list all my servers, I can get them always in line. If you use only 1 or 2 characters, what happens is the number, when you do the query and you try to sort it, it will become a problem.
Yeah, actually we also have like a 12-digit naming convention. Yeah. Similarly, what you're typing. Thanks.
Are there any different network configuration where vCenter to directly, what is that, Sri? I didn't understand. Are there any different network configuration via vCenter to directly connect to yourself? I didn't understand your question, Sri.
My question is, like say, when we didn't have vCenter, we configured everything in the network configurations. So when you have vCenter, you're going to have the same things when you configure it, or would it differ?
No, I didn't understand again. Tell me.
Let's say we created virtual switches using directly connecting to ESX.
Correct.
And creating a different port groups and all that. The same things can be done from via vCenter without even going to ESX?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was showing all the things. We were learning the basics, Absolutely. You can connect to the CSX server, you click on the networking. Now you see a distributed switch tab here because you're inside vCenter, but you're looking at vCenter switch. You can configure, add networking. It is absolutely. So in our office and all, we just build a server and add it to the vCenter, and we do all the networking configuration using vCenter only. So you can do the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Okay. Because I saw one of my engineer in other team, he was struggling when he was putting VLAN tagging from vCenter.
Yeah, VLAN tagging I will talk about. This is basically VLAN tagging when you go to a switch port. You can see that here, this is what is VLAN. So I'll talk about it tomorrow. Maybe remind me first thing tomorrow we'll talk about VLAN tagging. It's very important to have VLAN tagging to be understood. That is how you're able to communicate to multiple port groups or multiple subnets using the same network. So there is something called, if anybody wants to do some research and you come, I'll tell you. There are, in networking technology, there are typically 3 technologies are there. One is called as an access port. Then there is something called as a trunk port, and then there is also another technology called as channel port. So channel port is outside the scope of what I'm talking. That is more in backups and all environments. People do channel ports to get maximum bandwidth. But here we are going to talk, when we talk about VLANs, we are going to talk about, VLAN is nothing but to represent a virtual LAN. It is nothing but a subnet. So we're going to talk about access ports and trunk ports. What's the difference between an access port and a trunk port? If you are using, let's say in your company, you are using all a DL380, G7 or a rack mount servers, and they are all connected to different subnets, then you don't need to do any VLANs. Then you absolutely don't have to. No, you still need to. If you have multiple, you have to create multiple switches and things. We'll talk about it, but it is really helpful and really needed when you are using blade chassis and you have only limited number of network cards. For example, just imagine this condition here. I mean, I will talk about all this tomorrow. Let us say this, these two network cards, right now they are connected, both are connected to a VLAN. I can say 10.10.10.x, right? I mean, that is our all my IP address, 10.10.10.x. It is 10.10.10.x. Let us just assume that I have a VM that is in a subnet 20.20.20.5. That's the IP address of that VM. Can I put that VM in this network? If I put that VM with an IP address 20.20.20.x in this thing, it is not going to communicate. It is not going to work because these two ports are configured to work with this subnet. And that is where the trunk port will come into the picture. That is where the VLAN IDs are required. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yes, you can do all that things here. You can do it through here, but and your question was, can you do or do you need to do anything directly? No. Here we were learning how the things. Now that you all know, that is why I spend so much time. Now I can move very fast because you all know what is networking, what is storage, many things. So understanding that and getting that interesting factor of this product is what the important. I think that's the biggest challenge for me, and that's why we took so much days. It's been 10 days or something, so many hours we spent, but now you all know what a ESX server is, what a file is, what it constitutes of, everything. But in a real world environment, somebody will build an ESX server and that's it. And once the server is come, they will add it directly to the vCenter into the data center and then start managing. They may not put it in here, they may put it in outside a data center or something. It will be put in a data center, but it will not be added to any cluster. Once you add it to the data center, you finish all the required configuration, make sure that it is done, you patch it, because to patch it you need vCenter. Right now we cannot patch because we have not installed the update manager. So there is a lot of things we need to do in coming days to make this environment a fully working environment. So we are now in the process of building the vSphere environment. That is what we are doing. So this is the first state of what it is. Okay. Alright guys, so I think we will stop here now, and there is class again, guys, tomorrow, and there is no class for the next day, but you have quite some stuff to play around here. You can all connect. Right now, what I will do is, Aravind, let me give you a small work here, okay, Aravind. Can you connect to your VM, the vCent 5 VM, create usernames for everybody.
Now?
Not now, maybe today or tomorrow.
Not now, maybe today or tomorrow. Okay. Okay.
Create usernames for everybody and give everybody the password as
I will send separately. If that is going to be secret, if they wanted to be.
Yeah, if you could do that, that will be great.
Sure.
So what I want you to do is, on your Windows server, that Windows server, right, go to the users and computer. You know what I'm talking about, right? Go to the manage computer, go to, these are the two things you need to do. Go to the manage computer, go to users and computers here. What am I looking at? Where is it? Oh, okay. I don't see users and computers here. Can anybody tell me why? I don't want an answer from Sri, but anybody else can tell me. Can anybody tell me? I don't see an option to create users.
It's part of Active Directory. and all the permissions and users are pulled from Active Directory?
Okay. Kind of, that's correct actually, because this is a domain controller. A domain controller will never have a local account database. A SAM database is not there on a locally on a box. So in a domain controller, you cannot create users directly. But to your question, so not on this box. Here is what you have to do. Go to the users, new user, create a user called Aravind. You don't need to put anything here. Give a password, welcome1. Uncheck this. Do these two things. User cannot change password. Password never expires, and create. So now the user Aravind is created. Once that is created, Aravind, remember, listen to what I'm saying, okay? Once that is created,
yes.
You go to the administrators group. There will be an administrators group here, and add that user to that group. By adding here, you can pick Aravind there, it will come up, okay? Add them. So add all the users to the administrators group. No, otherwise don't worry about it. Don't add them. Okay, you can add them to group. That's your docs, right? That's fine. So add them to that the administrators group, and then they all can actually connect to vCenter. We'll talk about that. There are some reasons why you need to be added to the administrators group. By default, only the members of the administrators group can administer an ESX, a vCenter environment. We'll talk about all those things tomorrow, and then we will take it from there. Okay, so Aravind, you will be taking care of creating user accounts for everybody, right? Including, there are 10 people, including new Santosh, okay? Sujan, Sri, everybody is there. So you will be creating that, right? Aravind.
I will be. Also, I will send out to everyone around 6 p.m.
Okay. So that will be fine, guys. So thanks. Right now, if anybody wants to really connect, you can use administrator and welcome1. So what you need to do is, in your machine, start a VMware vSphere client, use vCent 5 as the thing, or the IP address 10.10.10.62. Username is not root. Here you are logging into a Windows application, so you have to use administrator and then the password. Or if Aravind send you your information, use your username and password, and you connect to the vCenter. Okay? All right, guys. Good night then. Thanks. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And there is no more class next week. Okay, so we will have class only on Monday. Thanks, guys.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call